Obviously, we had a very unfortunate alleged incident that occurred just after midnight on Friday, August 19th. We had, over the weekend, two juveniles that were arrested and arraigned. We have a 14 and 17-year-old. The 14-year-old was arrested and arraigned on Saturday morning for murder in the second degree and attempted robbery in the first degree. The 17-year-old was arrested and arraigned yesterday morning, on Sunday morning, again for the same charges of murder in the second degree and attempted robbery in the first degree. Due to the fact that they are both under the age of 18 years old, the new raise the age laws come into effect, and they have to be seen within 24 hours of arraignment or the next business day, either or, in front of a family court judge. So they were both in front of a family court judge this morning. They appeared, or actually this afternoon at noon, they appeared in front of Judge Friedman at family court for a bail hearing at noon today, and the 17-year-old was kept in custody, remanded. Unfortunately, I am sad to say that the 14-year-old, I don't even know if you know this, Joe, the 14-year-old was given $50,000 bail. Obviously against our wishes. We asked for remand on both, but the judge apparently felt the need to give the 14-year-old $50,000 bail. You can ask the judge why. I have no idea. In any event, both individuals are charged under the felony murder statute at this time right now. And again, they are both charged under the attempted murder, attempted robbery in the first degree, each under the accomplice liability theory. The allegation is that the 14-year-old and 17-year-old attempted to rob two individuals who were in a vehicle on Elmer Avenue in the city of Buffalo. It was allegedly a marijuana sale gone bad, and the 17-year-old is the alleged shooter. And as we all know, the 16-year-old girl who was a passenger in the vehicle was shot and killed. And both of them are scheduled to return on Friday, August 26th at 11:15 a.m. for a further proceeding, and this matter will now be, they'll both be adjudicated now as adults. The 14-year-old falls under the law for a 13, 14, and 15-year-old, which there are certain enumerated offenses that automatically keep a 13, 14, or 15-year-old in my jurisdiction. Obviously, murder is one of those charges, so the 14-year-old will go forward now under my jurisdiction. The 17-year-old falls under the 16 and 17-year-old rules in youth part, and there are certain actions where I do not need to make a motion to keep the case. Obviously, if someone is seriously injured or killed, that automatically qualifies, so there is no need for me to make a motion to keep that case either. And both the 14 and 17-year-old will be under my jurisdiction now going forward. And it is just, I'll just leave it before I bring Joe up to make a few comments. It is just sad that someone loses their life over marijuana, which is now legal in our state, and it is a tragedy that a 16-year-old now is no longer with us. And I heard her mother yesterday on Channel 2, and I will get her mother justice. Obviously, the Buffalo Police Department here, as usual, did a great job in making the arrest on these two individuals. And again, I can't thank Commissioner Gamali enough for the outstanding job that his officers did in making this arrest. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, sir. I had kind of some thoughts on what I wanted to say, and then I got thrown for a loop here on this bail thing, and here we are talking about bail again. We've got a 14-year-old child, and I'll say it's a child, and we have a 16-year-old child that has been murdered. Too many juveniles are involved in violent crime. And here we are with another 14-year-old that is released, has the potential to be released back onto the streets. This just perpetuates the cycle of violence. When people know that there are little consequences and they have the ability to get out of jail rather quickly, they're going to keep doing what they do. This is a significant problem. This case, again, it's children shooting, killing children, and that's a societal problem that we all as a community, the police department, the district attorney, everybody are working very hard to try to find a way to stop this. And I'm very thankful for our homicide detectives and our patrol officers. They took a case that on its face right off the bat looked like another type of a shooting that provided very little leads right off the bat, and good old-fashioned canvas work by our homicide detectives turned this very quickly, turned it around very quickly. Detective Sergeant Sean McCabe, Detective Adam Stephanie, Detective Judy Walker, Detective Tony Lapian, and Detective Aaron McCarthy from the Homicide Squad and Buffalo Police did an exceptional job in putting this case together. They had assistance from Edward District detectives that set up surveillance and were able to take the 17-year-old into custody without incident. I will add, we put a lot of time into this thing when it caught legs. There's still more work to be done. We will continue to do that work, and very grateful that we were working hand in hand with the district attorney's office from the moment this happened, so that we can bring the first level of closure to the family. We again heard the mother; she wants justice, and the first step of that justice is to make an arrest, make a quick arrest. We've done that. We still have more work to do, so we will continue to make sure that we seek a conviction. Thank you.
Who was Emily in the car with the 16-year-old? Who was that? And was the driver of the car she was in, was that the person that was part of the drug deal?
I'm not going to get in the weeds on who was actually doing what inside the car. I will just say that there was a individual who was a friend of hers who was the driver of the vehicle, and she was a front seat passenger. I'm going to leave it at that.
Was the driver injured
No.
during the altercation?
Have you released the identity of the young female victim?
I don't.
That went out.
Yeah, it went out. Yeah, I don't have her. I'm not going to release the name, but it went out. It went out yesterday.
The 14-year-old is out on bail?
Well, no, he has potential to be out on bail. I mean, it's $50,000, and you got to have 3 forms of bail. So it's probably, if unsecured bond is much lower than 50 grand. So I wouldn't be. What's that?
Do you know the amount?
Well, again, it depends on whether it's a secured bond. The amount is $50,000. All right. Now, the amount differs on bond. Okay, whether it's a secured bond or unsecured bond, and so we'll just see what they post if they post it.
Who's gun?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Are you able to take these kind of stories to lawmakers and say, look, we have this instance where a 14-year-old was involved in a heinous crime and has the potential now to get out on bail? Can you take that to lawmakers to
Yes.
say, what can we do to fix this?
Yes, Marley, but what the question that those who are doubling down on bail always is, show me numbers where, let's say that 14-year-old gets out on bail, all right? Let's just hypothetically say he does. And then that 14-year-old now goes out and commits another crime. That's all they care about, Marley, all right? All they care about is whether or not the individuals who get out on bail, whether or not they are committing more crimes. And they are totally hanging their hat on those numbers. And my response to that is that there is much more to this than those numbers, all right? First of all, any number that you come up with there is going to be skewed by the fact that there are way more unsolved shootings or unsolved crimes than there are solved, all right? So you don't know definitively if that 14-year-old is committing a crime or not because, the majority of the shootings are unsolved, all right? So that number is skewed right off the bat. And on top of that, my response is, and again, Joe is going to go off here in about 2 seconds, all right? My response is that there is way more than just that statistic. And Joe hit it on the head. There is accountability here, all right? There is a perception out there that the individuals who made these bail laws are on the side of criminals. And they're on their side. They're on the 14-year-old side. They're not on the 16-year-old side. That's a message that gets sent out here. And that's the problem that I have. And Joe can go on about that too.
Did the judge grant bail because he determined that this
She
determined that this individual did not pose a danger to the public? Isn't there a rule about that?
There is a rule about that, but the judge did not articulate really any reason. Again, I'm not going to speculate on the judge's inner thoughts. I can. Well, now I'm going to speculate. I shouldn't do that. All right. Just let's just look at it from just a third-party standpoint. You got a 14-year-old, you got a 17-year-old. 14 years old, maybe the youngest of the age. Let's let the 14-year-old out. A third party could make that argument. I'm not saying a judge made that. I'm not putting words in her mouth. I'm just saying let's just hypothetically look at it from a third party standpoint. Someone could make the argument that a 14-year-old shouldn't be sitting in jail. I make the argument, though, that the 14-year-old allegedly, and again, allegedly here, both of them are innocent until proven guilty, as I always say. They're both innocent until proven guilty, just allegations. But my comeback to that is that the 14-year-old allegedly took part in a robbery that resulted allegedly in a homicide of a 16-year-old. And therefore, the 14-year-old needs to be held accountable. I don't like it any more than anyone else. All right? I got 5 kids of my own. I don't get any pleasure in putting a 14-year-old in jail. None. I get no pleasure in that at all. But it needs to be done.
Wouldn't there be some stipulations on the 14-year-old if he is released on bail being free?
There might be, Harold. I can get that for you. If there would, if the judge put restrictions on. I assume the judge put restrictions. I'm going to put bail, and someone's going to come forward and a parent, and they'll be in my custody. There normally is. If there were any specific ones, I don't have them off the top of my head right now. I can find them and get them to you at a later time.
Could an ankle monitor be one of those things?
It could be, but
Yeah.
it could be, Harold. But we can't be involved in ankle monitors and murder cases, Harold. I'm sorry. We can't. Ankle monitors are for criminal mischief and high-level drug cases and maybe a burglary. All right, if it's one burglary, not a string. All right. I can probably think of some more. All right. There are applicable crimes for ankle monitors. There are applicable crimes for parents to come forward and say, hey, they'll be in my custody. I won't let them out of the house. I'll watch them. I'll make sure they go to school. If they don't, I'll bring them back to the court. There are certain crimes for that. I'm not a bad person. All right? I'm really a reasonable guy. There are certain crimes for that. Murder is not one of them. Ankle monitors should be in a conversation with murder.
Can I say something on
Oh,
that?
yeah, Joe, yeah, go ahead.
Do we know who allegedly pulled the trigger?
Well, he'll address that again. He did in the beginning, but he'll get back to that. But when we talk about ankle monitors, Harold, and we see this on gun cases, we see this with parolees, and we're talking about murder. When you have the opportunity, under conditions, to go home to your own bed, to be able to go out and walk around in your yard, to be able to eat what you want when you want, to have your friends come over whenever you want, play PlayStation if you want, to do whatever it is that you want and be around your house. That's not being locked up when you're charged with murder. And the problem we have, and I've said it over and over again, is that you have no accountability because no one has a fear of any consequences when they are not locked up, whether it be in jail, whether it be in juvenile detention. Your freedom needs to be taken away when you commit murder, when you're carrying a gun, when you shoot somebody, when you commit violent crimes. I've given statistics over and over and over on repeat gun defendants who are getting arrested with their second, with their third, with their fourth. I've got one guy that has 7 gun arrests in a 3.5-year time frame. When you have people that are arrested for a shooting and then they get released on bail and they're out, when we have people on probation or parole that don't have the fear of any of the check-ins or violating any of the rules and have no fear of being violated because of the parole system that has been set up, and then they wind up going out and shooting more. And we saw 3 instances in 3.5 months where our police officers were shot and or shot at by people on parole and probation. There has to be consequences brought back when you're talking about violent crime. I personally support some of the provisions in bail reform. And when we're talking about the examples here, you're talking about the low percentage of people that still get the same benefit as the people that bail reform was designed to try to help out. When we have a person in 3.5 years, in the last 3 years, that has been arrested 40 times, and I have that information, has been arrested 35 times, 28 times, that's a problem. They're benefiting off of what bail reform was designed to fix without the thought of fixing for the people that are going to continue to commit crimes. That's the problem. This 14-year-old, this is a child we're talking about, and I'm sorry about that, and this is tragic. They belong locked up. They need to understand the consequences.
So this is a state laws issue. I mean, Commissioner, what do you want to say to our state leaders regarding bail reform?
We need to have some sensible changes brought back to bail reform. They have to come back and swing back a little bit further the other way. This is a crime where bail was allowed to be set. The judge set bail. But that third form of bail, which is mandated by bail reform, this is what's causing us the most problem. We are seeing gun defendants that has bail set, but that partially secured property bond lets them out on anywhere from 10% to 1%. Sometimes we're even seeing ROR release. That's the problem. We need to change this, and we need to think about the people that are taking advantage of this. So we have to come back to some sensible changes to bail reform.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry,
It was the 17-year-old who allegedly pulled the trigger, correct?
Allegedly, yes.
But the 14-year-old is still being charged also with second-degree murder.
Yes, under the felony murder theory, which is when the felony murder theory is that in the course of a felony, a homicide occurs. Yeah,
What do
Claudia.
you know about the 14 and 17-year-old? Are they from Buffalo?
Um,
They're in school? Like, what
I
do you
don't.
know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. And again, I mean, that's a listen. That's a valid question, Claudine. I mean, if it's a valid question that gets back to Harold's point. I mean, and again, and Joe said it too. I mean, so Harold's put. I'm going to piggyback Harold's question, your question, and Joe saying that this is the 14 was a kid. What type of kid a 14-year-old is, or what type of kid a 17-year-old is, has relevance. It has relevance in the sense that, if they're, good kids, if they're in school, if they're, first offense, not in trouble, not part of gangs, those are relevant factors, Claudine, okay, in determining bail. And in determining, even beyond bail, what to do as far as sentencing. However, there has to be a demarcation line of crimes that are above that line where it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter whether or not the 14-year-old was a straight-A student, Claudine. I mean, so
Did they have a record?
I can't comment on that. But the direct answer to your question is that I don't know. Some may criticize me for being up here and railing off on a 14-year-old without knowing. Okay, that would be a fair criticism. But my response to that criticism would be, it doesn't matter, because if the kid was a straight A student and the kid was a captain of the football team and the kid had was not in a gang and was a great kid, but he allegedly was involved in a homicide, I'm asking for no bail. And that makes me a bad guy. I'm sorry.
The 16-year-old girl from Niagara Falls,
Yeah.
she was in Buffalo to buy or sell marijuana?
I'm not going to go in the weeds. All I'm going to say is that the robbery was the attempted robbery was over a marijuana transaction. But I'm not going to get into the weeds.
Suspects, did they live on Elmer Avenue?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Did they know each other? Did they all know each other?
I'm not going to comment on that. I know the answer. I'm just not going to comment on it.
Was the weapon used recovered?
I'm not going to comment on any evidence.
Was the driver and the 16-year-old, were they related? And was the driver also from Niagara Falls?
The driver was from Niagara Falls, and they were friends.
Were both of the youths arraigned before the same judge?
I don't know. One was Saturday morning, one was Sunday morning. I don't know if the same judge came in. They were both on the bail hearing in front of the same judge today, but the 14-year-old was arraigned on Saturday morning. The 17 was arraigned on Sunday morning. I don't know if the same judge had both of them or not, but I can find out for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were both remanded over the weekend by the city court judge. It was the city court judge, Harold, and they were both remanded by the city court judge.
I have a question for the Commissioner. Commissioner, there have been several other fatal shootings since the Elmer Avenue shooting. Were these related in any way? Were they targeted?
We had two shooting homicides yesterday. We had one last night about 12:30 a.m. We had one yesterday at about 7:40 in the afternoon and the evening. Have no relevance to the shooting that we're here, the homicide that we're here talking about. Nothing that has been brought to my attention they'd be related at all. We are making good progress. We've recovered some very good video on both of those. I anticipate possibly today putting some video out for help in identifying something that we're looking for, a vehicle that we're looking for. We're working on that right now, and again, our homicide detectives getting out right away, doing canvassing, we're able to come up with some very good videos. So we will get more information out on that.
Can
The
you say
car will
what
be
the
coming from which homicide? Butler or?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting my B's. It would be the Berkshire, thank you. The Berkshire homicide is a car, we know what car we're looking for. We're going to put potentially put some video out possibly today for the public's assistance.
Can you say what the dispute was over? Was it over marijuana?
Which one?
I'm not even going to get into that. It's too soon.
The 3 additional.
No, we had two additional.
Two additional.
Yeah, it's way too soon to get into motives. Way too soon for that. So we're working on collecting our evidence. We have, like I said, we have some very good video, and I think, unfortunately, we've had 3 shooting homicides now over the last couple of days over the weekend, and we're coming off a summer that has seen a significant decrease in our shootings and our homicides when you compare the same time frames. We're looking at about a 37% decrease in our shootings, and in July we had a 65% decrease in our shootings when you compare this July to the last 2 Julys. A lot of the strategies that we've been putting in place, a lot of the teamwork that's been going on have really had a significant impact on prevention. We are looking at prevention, and community engagement, and that's been working for us. We put a lot of information on that today that came out in the Buffalo News on what we've been employing for the last year, and even more significantly in a more scientific, data-driven manner over the last about 4 or 5 months. So we are seeing gains, and when we talk numbers, I talk percentages a lot, we're talking about real people. We're talking about roughly about 75 less people shot this year than each of the last 2 years. That's significant.
Do you know how many shootings there have been to date since January?
I don't have the exact number to date.
So I got until July 8th. So up.
Actually, I got more current than
You got
that.
more current data? So we'll just give you, up until July 8th, if you're comparing from January to July of last year compared to this year, we were down, like Joe said, 32%. And in our homicides by gun violence, we were down 10%. And that also includes one very unfortunate day in May where there was 10 in one day. So I mean, that 10% number is actually much better.
Back to the Elmer shooting.
Yep.
Did security cameras play any role in that? We were there earlier today, and there were a few houses that had signs that said security cameras in use. Did that lead or help with the arrest?
Yeah, I can't talk about any specific evidence that we have. I will just piggyback on what the commissioner said as far as good old-fashioned police work, canvassing areas and doing a great job in getting leads.
The victim and the other person in the car were both from Niagara Falls. Were they potentially lured to this location?
Again, I'm not going to get any further than what I've said, that it was just a, marijuana sale gone bad. But as far as how they got there, who allegedly lured them there, I'm not going to confirm or deny that. Those particulars, I'll say for trial.
Commissioner, you said you had updated numbers?
Yeah, unfortunately, my email's not loading, so I'll get you the numbers as soon as this loads up.
Okay, no problem.
The bottom line is that they've gone down tremendously.
Yeah, we're down 37%.
Yeah, they've gone down tremendously. And let's just hope that we just had a bad weekend and we go back to continuing to go down. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.